and Emma. Hello, Emma. Joanne and Marjorie. So glad to have you here. So, Jocelyn, I'm going to ask you to mute.
Yes, indeed. Introduce you real fast. You do your thing. You go.
Yeah. Well, I just want to start with welcoming you, and so glad that you are here. You're here because you care about this country, and you care about our community, and you know all of the problems that we're having, and you want to do your part. And it's a long haul that we've got. So we're here to do some understanding about our nervous systems so we can work with them and so we can do the long haul and without burning ourselves out. So you know already that I'm Barbara Holtzman, and this is, I'm so excited to be sharing with you things that I've been working on for myself and that have been so helpful for me in managing my nervous system. So let me tell you what we're going to be doing tonight. I'm going to be doing some teaching about stress and the nervous system with the foundation of polyvagal theory. And my intention is to give you a general understanding of your nervous system and how you can work with it so you can regulate your energy and your moods and manage your stress so you will be healthier and more at ease. And then I'm going to teach you some simple practical tools for bringing yourself back into equilibrium because we get off balance all the time. And then we're going to practice using these tools with situations that we as activists are likely to run into. And that we run into in actuality, things that are out there, and also things that are in our minds, because they call it the difference between a paper tiger and a real tiger, because our nervous system can't tell the difference between what is a real stressor out there and what we are creating in our own minds. And we may or may not have time for Q&A, but hopefully we will. And I've also put my email in the chat so that if there's anything that we don't get to and you have questions, please feel free to contact me. Before we get started, a little housekeeping. So we are recording, as you can see, and there is closed captioning. And I guess I'll see how well I articulate, how well the closed captioning corresponds with what I'm trying to say. Split attention. It's when there's too much chat, then people tend to get distracted. So if you can save the chat for if you have, you know, when I ask questions, if you can respond in the chat, since we're all muted here. Tech problems, you also put that in the chat. Jocelyn will monitor and hopefully be able to fix it if there's any. And as you can tell, I'm reading from my notes. So I've tried to speak extemporaneously, and I end up forgetting some of the most important things. So I ask you to please forgive me, and I will try to stay connected with you. So I'd like to start with a visualization. Actually, two visualizations. So if you'd like to close your eyes or look down or look at a pretty picture in your room, or to drop in and imagine that you've slept poorly. You've overslept, you've hit the snooze button one too many times, and you're running late. And you're hurrying to get the coffee, and the coffee pot is dirty again. And you can feel your anger that your loved one who promised to clean it did not clean it again, and you're ruminating. why they didn't do it. They never do what they say they're going to do. And you can just feel yourself getting agitated in your body and stressed. And as you drive to your meeting with someone who's opposed to the legislation you've been working so hard on, there's terrible traffic. That's before COVID, I guess. Feeling agitated, and you're rehearsing all the things that could go wrong. What this person's going to say, they're going to reject what you're saying, and all your counter arguments. And you can feel yourself getting more and more agitated and frustrated. And notice if you're feeling that. And if you're feeling that, what you're feeling in your body. And soon you may start to feel a little bit depleted and hopeless before you even get started. So let's breathe that one out. Now in scenario 2, you went to bed at a reasonable time, having prepared for the conversation, the points you want to make. You set the intention to be calm and open and curious. And since you slept relatively well, no snooze button and not running late, but the coffee pot is still dirty and you're still annoyed. But again, because you're rested and at ease, and because you've set your intention to stay calm, you're able to use your tools. You notice yourself getting tense and you breathe. And you tell yourself it's okay, that you're okay, and you can feel your agitation start to settle down. And the thoughts come up about what this person who you're going to be meeting with might say and what they might do. And you can feel your nervous system going into a little bit of fight or flight. But because you have enough awareness, you recognize that you're telling yourself a story. And you might even label the word story. I'm telling myself a story, that it's not reality. And you remember to come back into the present moment. So you take a conscious sigh, which is the quickest way to start resetting the nervous system, followed by a few slow, deep breaths. And you might change the radio station from the news to classical music. You might look out the window and notice the trees. You're no longer lost in your thoughts. And you can feel your mind and your body settle down. Now, in both of these scenarios, there was still the same outside triggers, right? There was the coffee pot that was dirty and was making you have to clean it if you wanted your coffee, making you late. There was the traffic. There's a meeting with someone who you're a little bit reluctant to be meeting with, a little bit concerned, right? But what made it different, those are the facts, but what made it different was your intention. And in the second scenario, you still experience the annoyance, but with the intention to be calm and having practiced stress management skills, you were aware enough not to let the momentary annoyance turn into anger or an argument. And your intention that how you wanted to be with what Valerie Kaur, who is one of my heroines, and I'll tell you about her, calls our opponent. She doesn't call them her enemy, her opponent. In order to achieve the best outcome of the meeting, it's easier if we're more open and curious and if we use our skills in nonviolent communication. So let's look at the experience through the lens of our nervous system. I had suggested when you got your, that you listen to Deb Dana's Befriending Your Nervous System. It's an hour-long conversation on YouTube. It sounds true, and it's in your. I put it in the chat, the resources. Okay, so it's in there if you haven't gotten a chance to listen to it. So Deb Dana is a clinical social worker, and she works with Stephen Porges, Dr. Stephen Porges, who developed polyvagal theory. And he termed the word neuroception to describe how neural circuits distinguish whether situations or people are safe or dangerous or life-threatening. And even though we may not be aware of the danger on a cognitive level, on a neurophysiological level, our body has already started the sequence of neural processes that facilitate adaptive defenses like fight, flight, or freeze, or faint. In other words, neuroception is our autonomic nervous system's response to real or perceived threat or safety, and it happens unconsciously. Our minds might know that we're safe, but our bodies don't. Because if the body is firing danger and the body is picking up awareness from our internal, our interoception sensations that we're not usually aware of, our external, and what's happening between us and another person. And because of our own histories, so let's say you're talking with somebody who has an angry tone. They may not be angry, but if you have a history with having grown up with a parent who, when they got angry and you could be, there was danger, or at least it felt like danger to you, you will react to that, to hearing that tone as if there really was danger. We have no control over what our nervous systems do. Our nervous systems just do what they do. It's our job to pay attention to them, to learn about them so we can befriend them and work with them. And at this time, where there's so many challenges, you know, climate change, voting rights in danger, you know, our fragile democracy, reproductive freedom in jeopardy, gun violence, racial injustice, COVID. I mean, these times are so uncertain, and our nervous systems don't like uncertainty. The stock market doesn't like it, neither do our nervous systems. And so we feel this underlying state of threat. So the autonomic nervous system, again, to recap, is constantly responding to sensations in the body, signals from the environment, reactions to our thoughts, our paper tigers, which we're usually not aware of. And in response, we're constantly changing states. This is normal. So we change states from engagement, which is called ventral vagal, where we feel safe and at ease, connected to ourselves, connected to others. Polyvagal theory calls it ventral vagal state. We're just going to call it safe and social. And then we shift into activation, mobilization, when our fight or flight system is triggered. And this doesn't have to be something bad. It can be, you know, I'm triggered into mobilization to be able to do this talk with you, right? But if it gets too out of bounds, and we'll look at a couple of charts for you to see, then our nervous system is feeling a threat. And so it's helpful to do some action, which brings us back into safe and social. And if we can't do anything, so something starts to feel dangerous and we can't do anything about it, then we go into dorsal, which is a state of collapse, of hopelessness. So let me show you two different I'll share my screen. Okay, so can you see this, the sample profile map? Yeah, great, thank you. Hang on a sec. So this is from Deb Dana. So when we're in a state of ventral vagal, we're safe and social. So there's a flow, we feel connected, warm or open-hearted, curious, engaged, capable, organized, passionate, at ease, right? And we feel like we're okay and that the world is okay. Now we're constantly moving up and down this ladder. So we start going into sympathetic, and this is an extreme when we get into, but even just something as simple as getting into your car and driving someplace. You may be activating a little bit of sympathetic, you know, watching the roads, ice, right? But if you go too far down the ladder, You start to feel a little bit out of control. It's too much. It can feel confusing or overwhelming. You might feel angry or confrontational. And then the world is starting to feel like a not such a friendly place. Now, if we stay in there, we get entrenched. And one of the reasons that I'm doing this, the major reason I'm doing this, is to help with, so we can come back up the ladder without before we get too entrenched, right? But if we get too entrenched and we can't fight or flee, we go into dorsal vagal, where we're immobilized and collapsed, and we can feel shut down and numb and hopeless and helpless, disconnected. And we feel like we're lost, we're invisible, can feel we're unlovable, and that the world is a pretty cold, empty place. And if we get too far down into dorsal vagal, it can take a lot of time and energy to get back up. So see what resonates for you. Okay, I'm going to drop this one, and can I do this without yeah, okay. So here's the second one. And you can see that we're in social engagement, right? We're safe and social and ventral. We're calm and settled. And, we start to move into sympathetic, right? So there's a little bit of frustration, a little bit of irritation, a little bit of concern, right? Normal stuff. If we don't work with it at this level, and the triggers are still going on, we can get ourselves into anger, or rage, or panic, right? And then if it gets too much, and I know a lot of us got into this in 26, the last administration, a lot of us lived in this, in dorsal, in freeze, in helplessness, in depression, in numbness, in hopelessness, shut down, trapped, right? So what we're trying to do then is make shorter waves. And if we do get into dorsal, shorter waves, how do we help ourselves? So notice how your nervous system reacts in the following situations. And you might want to look at the screen, at the chart if that's helpful to you. And pay attention to what your thoughts are, what your emotions are, what your body sensations are. So let's say you're going to a meeting, a social activist meeting, some other kind of a gathering with people who notice your state. Pick a meeting, pick a group. Choose one that you might get a little bit activated. So you might be excited. You might feel a little bit nervous if you're somebody who tends to get nervous in social gatherings. You might feel relaxed. Just notice how you seeing your friends, people, your colleagues, right? Just notice how it feels. What you're feeling in your body, what you're feeling in your energy. And now you start talking about a problem, okay? And it's an entrenched problem. You could have done your family, right? A family gathering. Something that's going to activate you when a problem, so people are talking about a problem and it's a constant problem. It's a problem that you've worked with before. Your organization has always been trying to deal with this problem. Nothing has helped. You go around and around about it, and you can start to feel you getting a little bit aggravated. Notice what's happening. Are you trying to push for an answer? Are you engaged? Are you tuning out? just notice what happens for you when things are starting or just going on and feel like things are just kind of stuck. And now somebody comes up with a great idea. And this is a possible solution. Notice what happens in your energy. Notice what happens in your mood. Notice what's happening in your body. Has your breathing changed? So these fluctuations are normal, but we can get stuck in them, right? And it's harder to get back into safe and social. One thing I want to say is that we can have, we can be socially engaged and have some sympathetic. Right now I have both. I'm very excited to be with you, and I have a little bit of sympathetic going, right? And we can also be, and this is really important, I think, we can be in a freeze state. We tend to be both in fight or flight and dorsal, which is a real stuck state that a lot of us can get into. Okay, another example. How do you get your news? Do you get it from the radio? Do you get it from the newspaper? Do you get it from TV? And how do you feel, let's say, how do you feel while you're reading? Let's say you're reading the newspaper. How do you feel while you're reading? Where's your energy? Where's your focus while you're reading? And how do you feel after? I'm going to stop the share. Okay. What I've noticed in myself is that my tendency is to take it in on a very superficial level. Like, I just want to know, but I don't really want to know, and I don't want to feel it, right? And when I'm in that state, I'm not as discerning about, is this important? Is this useful for me to know? And I'm not connected to my body. So after reading, I notice I can feel exhausted and disheartened. So I've really been working with, and it's wonderful to be preparing for this because I've been practicing all the things that I want to share. And so I've been working with making the intention before I read, to stay present, to choose what's really important, and to be breathing, because we tend to hold our breath, and be really helpful to notice, do you hold your breath? Do you breathe shallowly? What happens? Because you may not be even aware of what you're feeling, but your nervous system is feeling it. So what I've been practicing doing is trying to breathe and stay in my body, and notice and even name what I'm feeling. Now, I want to say something about emotions. And emotions, if you think of the word emotion, E-motion, it's an energy in motion. Emotions will make their way through the nervous system in 90 seconds, which is maybe hard to believe, if we don't do something to stop it. So if we could just be present with it and learn and practice some of the things that we're going to be practicing, the feelings are just going to move through the nervous system. But most of us tend to distract ourselves. Feelings don't go away. We may not be aware of them, but they're still there. We tend to tighten. I've had chronic pain for years, never realizing that it was because I was contracting against emotions that I didn't know, that I wasn't even aware of, or I didn't have to be with. If we're not breathing, can't move through. So basically what we want to do is we want to metabolize everything. Okay. So this is how I'd like to spend the rest of our time together. I'm going to share the simplest, best tools that I know and that I teach to my clients and that I practice. And of course, if we don't practice them, then it's a great idea, but it's sort of like the person with asthma who goes to the doctor, and the doctor or the nurse teaches them how to breathe when they're having an asthma attack, right? But if they don't practice, then they have an asthma attack and they're not going to be able to use the tool. So it really is, it's a kind of regular thing. In fact, I tapped before. Since I've been preparing for this, I've been tapping more and more, so it's been wonderful. So I'm going to teach you some practices, and then we're going to guide you in some situations that you might encounter. So before you start, just notice what you're feeling right now. You know, are you feeling curious, interested, bored? How's your energy? What's happening in your body? Holding tension? What's your mood like? Sense of ease. Where are you on the polyvagal ladder? Are you in safe and social? Are you in a little bit mobilized? Are you starting to get annoyed at something? Are you frustrated? Are you feeling kind of tuned out? Just notice where you are. Now, the purpose of these practices is, and I really want to underscore this, is to make your nervous system feel safe. Your nervous system is constantly moving, looking for, is what's wrong? Is everything okay? And we need to help it to feel safe. So try these with me. The first one being breathing. So let's start off with a sigh. And we're all muted, I think. So I'm going to guide you in. Let's do it again. And just notice what's happening in your body. Now 3 slow, deep breaths. And making the exhale longer than the inhale helps to bring the nervous system into parasympathetic rather than activated sympathetic. So 3 slow, deep breaths in your own rhythm. And we can also try the straw. So imagine that you're breathing out through a straw. Next one is naming feelings. I find this really, really helpful. So naming sadness, anger, fear, confusion, hurt. What's here now? What's here? And can I be with it with kindness and compassion, Tara Brach says. And in a soft voice, can you say to yourself, like you would for a little kid, it's okay. I'm here. It's okay. We're safe in this moment. The nervous system needs to know it's safe. So even telling it, we're safe right now. Because unless there's a tiger chasing you, in this moment, you probably are safe. And we might want to add self-touch. You know, we're mammals, we respond to touch. So try a hand on heart. And see how that feels to you. Maybe putting the other hand on your belly and see how that feels. Now taking the hand from the belly off and putting it over the first hand on your heart. See how that one feels. We're just seeing, what does my nervous system like? What helps it to feel safe? Now we may want to put our hands over our faces. See how that feels. Just on your chin. Some people like to put it over their eyes. And just notice how that feels, cupping your eyes. Some people like a hug. You can see how that feels for you. I also want to share with you 3 statements, the self-compassion statements that Kristen Neff, who this is her thing, is self-compassion. And I guess having learned how to, she's written a book. She's got, you can look on her website, but she's got 3 sentences that I suggest and that I've been finding really helpful. The first sentence is, this is a moment of suffering. And you might be specific. This is a moment of fear, or this is a moment of hurt, or this is a moment of confusion, or overwhelm, or whatever it is that you're feeling. And this, by the way, is it's going to be in your resource that you can get from the beginning of the chat. The second sentence is, just like me, there are many people in this moment who are feeling overwhelmed or scared or hurt or whatever it is that you're feeling. The commonality of the human family. And the third is, may I be kind to myself. It's not our tendency. Our tendency is to try to buck up and to make ourselves wrong or to push ourselves. And really, kindness for what we're feeling helps to settle our nervous system, makes us feel seen and gotten and cared for. And then when our nervous system is settled, then our thinking brain goes back online. And then we're able to do what's needed. Our prefrontal cortex goes offline when our nervous system is activated. So this is really important. Tapping is our next one. So I can't see all of you, and I don't know how many of you have tried tapping, also called emotional freedom technique. Some of you have. So question for those of you who have, do you use it? I see one person nodding, great. So I learned tapping probably 15 years ago. I've taught classes on tapping. Do I use it? Now I do. But it's the kind of thing that it's often easy to forget, but it's one of the fastest and most effective stress management tools that I know. So I want to review with you some tapping, and then we're going to do a tapping script, a tapping experience for activists. So what is tapping? For those of you who don't know, it's a stress management tool. It's energy medicine. And what we do is, as in contrast to affirmations, where you just bring up, every day I feel better and better, kind of affirmations, it doesn't work. What tapping does is that we bring up the negative, we bring it all up so that it can come out. It can get metabolized in our system and it can come out of us. And we tap on places on our face and our body, and I'll show you the picture that we'll be working with, that on the meridians, where acupuncturists put their needle. So if you think about energy medicine, so think about acupuncture, and I'm sure some of you have done acupuncture. What an acupuncturist does is you tell them what your symptom is, and they know where that means that your energy is stuck. So they put the needle where the energy is stuck. Well, we do tapping on places where are most likely to have stuck energy for our emotions or pain or any other kinds of thing. You know, if you, I tell everybody, Google, there's a, in your resource sheet is a 4-minute video with Nick Ortner and on what tapping is. And Nick does a yearly try it on everything. He's at the Tapping Summit, and it's a wonderful, wonderful summit. I really recommend that you get on his mailing list and try it. But you can go on YouTube and put in tapping, whatever your problem is, fear of flying, YouTube, and somebody will guide you through. So think of something that makes you feel fear or anger or grief or overwhelm. We're going to be doing a tapping experience. So it could be something about the state of the world. It could be something specific. It could be something in your own life, something outside. But find something that on a scale of 0 to 10 is probably somewhere in a range of 4 to 7. It might be something specific like climate change or anxiety about voting rights. That's a big one for me. Or abortion rights, or gun violence, or racial injustice, or the ramifications of the pandemic. Something that really has got you worried, scared, angry. And if you can't find one particular, just the sense of how things are. And as you focus on this target, this feeling, notice how you feel it in your body and rate it on a scale of 0 to 10, rate its intensity. And now we're going to tap on the side of the hand. We call it the karate chop, so do this with me. And as you focus on your target, repeat after me, either out loud or in your own mind. Although even better out loud, if you're in a place where you can do that. Even though I am scared or enraged or overwhelmed, or whatever it is that you're feeling, I choose to accept myself and what I'm feeling in this moment. Even though I'm overwhelmed by all the problems we're facing, I acknowledge how scary and hard life feels right now, and I'm open to finding more ease. Even though I feel all this tension, I accept what I feel and give my body permission to relax. Now, some people do both sides, some people do one side, whatever feels right for you. So we're giving voice to these feelings while we're tapping to lower the intensity. So the inner eyebrow. There is so much to do and so much opposition. Outer eyebrow. No wonder I feel scared and hopeless sometimes. Under the eye and overwhelmed. Under the nose or filled with hate. But I've got to keep going. Collarbone, can use the whole hand. There is so much to do. Under the arm. You can do it on the same side or the opposite side. How do I stay the path? Top of head, how do I keep going when it feels like things are falling apart? In this second round, I'm going to suggest that you just take in what I'm saying as we tap. Don't repeat anything, simply reflect on the experience of activist fatigue or fear or anger. The inner eyebrow, be present with any feelings in your body, any thoughts that arise. Just feeling it while you tap and taking my suggestions as you tap. Outer side of the eye, allowing yourself to feel safe and grounded in your body. Under the eye, can you allow yourself to just be with what you're experiencing, just as it is, without needing to change it? Under the nose, what if you let go of the pressure? Under the mouth, and let yourself feel what you're feeling. Collarbone, would it be okay to just take a pause and rest and breathe? Under the arm, can you remind yourself that you're doing the best you can? Top of head, would you be willing to give yourself kindness under these difficult circumstances? Take a deep breath. Sigh it out. Check in with your body. Check in with your feelings. Again, do this the 0 to 10 scale and see if there's been any change. Sometimes it will go down, sometimes it will stay the same, sometimes it may even go up if something else has come up. So anybody want to put in the chat what happened for them? If you want, you can put in what your target was, and if the sensations went down or stayed the same or went up. Please speak up. Thank you. Went from an 8 to a 6. Great. Anybody else want to share? Am I loud enough now? You felt the tightness in your chest dissipate. Great. Went from a 4 to a 1. Wow. Yeah. It's so fast. I was exhausted today because I was up a lot earlier than I wanted to, and I tapped, and the yawns just started, and I felt more ease and less tired. Went from a 7 to a 5, was thinking about abortion rights. Yeah, feeling more relaxed. Great. Nail bed. There are times when you can't, you're in a place where you're not going to be able to do this, right? So do you know about the nail bed? So can you see on where the nail, the end of the nail bed, if you tap on the nail bed, you can do this under the table, okay? So if you're out with people, or if you're at a meeting and you don't want people to see it, tapping on the while you're saying these phrases to yourself can be really, really helpful. I don't know if it really moves it through in the same way, but I think what it does is that it helps us to focus on what we're feeling, to give it attention, and to move it through. So I have found it helpful. I suggest trying that. Also, if you're in dorsal, if you are in such an overwhelm where it's hard to move, you just feel so sluggish. And what helps move out of dorsal is to go up the ladder through sympathetic but sometimes we just don't feel like we've got the energy to do anything. Just tapping on the fingers can be really helpful. That's a small thing to name what we're feeling. It's a small movement that can help us start to get up the ladder. Talk and tap. So we did a kind of formalized thing, but you can just talk and tap, just naming out loud as if you were talking to a friend, and tap while you're doing it. And that can be very, very useful. And if you can't think of words, if you're feeling the feelings, just focus on the feelings and it'll move them through. The words are really to help you to name it and to know what you're feeling. But if you're already knowing what you're feeling, then the tapping just moves the energy through. And as I said, the hardest thing is to remember to do it. So I've been trying to remember to do it first thing in the morning, and that way it's even just a round of it, and that way I remember it easier during the day. So what we were just practicing were tools to help to alleviate discomfort and stress, to shift the state we're in, to calm our mind and body, which allows our emotions to settle. Remember that if we don't calm the body, our emotions don't settle. So I'd like to differentiate those calming strategies from mindfulness, which is also incredibly helpful for bringing ourselves back into balance, into equanimity. And what mindfulness really is having our body and our mind in the same place at the same time. And if we're not focused on something, the scenery, doing the dishes, a project you're working on, if we're not focused on something, our mind tends to go into the default mode. It's called the default mode, where it just wanders. And sometimes where it wanders is pleasant, and more often it's unpleasant because we have a negativity bias. And the reason we have a negativity bias is because that's what kept our ancestors alive. They were looking for what could go wrong. And of course, if we've had trauma or other really bad situations happen with us, then all of those experiences, if we haven't metabolized them, also are going to come up when we're in the default mode, when we're not focused on something. So where does our mind go? It tends to go into the past or the future. It goes into the past, into regret or nostalgia. It goes into the future of fear or hope. It goes into the stories about yourself. It goes into stories about other people or other situations when we leave the now. So if we'd like to train our minds, for those of you who don't meditate, I want to tell you about a wonderful course that is free from Sounds True by two wonderful teachers, Jack Cornfield and Tara Brock. It's also, I think it's on your resources page. And but you can go to Sounds True, and it's free, and it's 15 minutes a day. Highly recommend it. And there's one mindfulness tool I would like to teach you that is really simple, by Judson Brewer, who is he's an addiction psychiatrist and a mindfulness teacher at Brown. And his specialties are anxiety and habits, and including overeating, and he has researched, and he's done lots of research, and he has apps. And so he's got this thing called finger tracing exercise, which is an easy way to calm, and it's a wonderful one to show kids. So I have a client who is a nanny, and I've suggested she do it with a 4-year-old who is often out of control. So we start with our thumb, right? And we breathe in, the inhalation, and exhale. And inhale, and exhale. And inhale, and exhale. And inhale. And exhale. You can find your own rhythm. And exhale. And then we're going to go back. Inhale. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. So, and you might want to look at your finger and see if that helps you to focus. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. And just notice how that felt for you. So now we're going to practice with a situation. Come up with your own. Something from the past that's really gotten to you. Something that you're worried about in the future. Again, somewhere between 4 and 7. When you think about this situation, this issue, just notice how it feels in your body. Notice your breathing. Are you holding your breath, or is it constricted? Are your muscles tight? Where are you on the polyvagal ladder? Are you feeling worried? Does it feel out of control? Too much? Are you feeling shut down? Are you in dorsal? Where are you? So I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to bring up these things that we've been practicing with. And see if you can work on what you're feeling, choosing one or more. Is that large enough? Choose what you're drawn to. Is it to breathe, sighing, slow, deep breaths, or breathing out through the straw? Is it naming what you're feeling? Letting the feelings know, I see you. It's okay. We're okay now, in this moment. Is it gentle self-touch, hand on the heart? Or touch on your face? Is it the words of self-compassion? This is a moment of suffering. And just like me, there are many people who are suffering right now. And may I be kind to myself. Is it tapping? Is it doing the finger tracing exercise? Try out whatever feet you're drawn to and see if you can bring yourself back into a state of homeostasis, of calming the nervous system, of relaxing the nervous system. So take out and let's put in the chat what you would say? Ah, Kelsey's saying that tapping was the most effective for her. Anybody else find tapping is the easiest or most effective? Ah, Emma likes a big sigh. Yeah, I love that. Breathing. Susan likes breathing. Yeah. And Susan, did you notice, did you do the breathing exhale longer than the inhale? The self-compassion phrases, Kikulekt, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. The self-compassion phrases and the different breathing techniques. Yeah. Yeah. Exhale longer. Yeah. Yeah. Great. So we need to practice, right? Or we're going to be like the person with asthma who doesn't practice and then has an asthma attack, right? So we have time for Q&A. If anybody has any questions, any issues that they'd like to address. Anything besides the techniques, well, any takeaways that you want to take with you. So yeah, so either takeaways or questions. Kiku, thank you for coming. Yes. Please repeat the meditation site. Yes, it's on the, if you go to the beginning of the chat, you'll see the handout. There's a link for the handout. If you have trouble getting to that, oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. But it's from Sounds True. And Adria, I see that you have your hand up. And do you want to unmute?
Sure. I'd always rather talk than write. I really like that you did the tapping, which of course I've also known about for a zillion years. And I find I don't know the things to say. And how I interpreted what you were saying was just say what you feel, like make all the associations and then see if it brings down whatever's going on. So that's very different from somehow I imagined that.
Everybody gets stuck on the words. I hear that from everybody every time I've done a class. So suggestion is to talk as if you're talking to someone, but you're naming what's here, your thoughts, your emotions, and your body sensations. And if you can't think of what to say, then don't worry about it. Just focus on the feelings while you tap.
Yeah, I always can think of things to say. but to actually have it work is, that's the challenge. Yeah.
And it may be easier to start with doing it on YouTube. Go Google YouTube, pain, anger, whatever it is that you're feeling, overwhelm, Google tapping, your issue, YouTube. And you will find people who are going to be leading. And then you just tap along with them. It's really quite wonderful.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You can either put it in the chat or you can raise your hand. Okay, well, I've put in my email address so that if there is something that that's an issue for you that you don't want to talk about, or it comes up later, please feel free to email me. So I really want to thank you for coming. And sharing this time. And this is something that I feel passionately about. And I obviously feel passionately about the work that we are doing. And so thank you for sharing this. And I want to end with, because what helps me to stay on track is inspiration. And I'm always looking for inspiration. And there's so many inspiring leaders now, social justice leaders. And the one who, one of my favorites now is Valerie Kaur, Kaur, Valare, Kaur. I don't know if you know her. She's a civil rights activist, a civil rights lawyer and an activist. And she's from the Sikh religion. And she has a program called Revolutionary Love. I loved it so much that, and Sounds True has a course with her, that I got one of my racial justice groups into, one from UUCSC, Unitarian Universalist Congregation in South County, and the other is a group of therapists. And I wrote to the group and said, anyone want to do Revolutionary Love with me? Because the work is fabulous. Anyway, a quote from her is, "The passion to change the world flickers in you like a flame. And if you let that flame go out, you'll be robbing the world of your greatest gift. Your task today is not to know what the future holds. Your task is to vow to protect that flame." And of course, to remember Margaret Mead's famous quote, "Never doubt that a group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barbara. So just so everyone knows, we will put this up so Barbara can share it out, and it's available if you'd like to pass it around.
Just email me, let me know, and I'll share it with you and you can send it on.
Yep. Thanks so much.
Thank you.